So I'd like to invite you all to our second session and introduce our speakers for today. So our second session is called Mental Health Awareness and Support for Newcomer Youth. So as I mentioned, we're going to be diving deeper into specific fields, right? So a little bit about this session is in this session, you will gain insight into the common mental health challenges faced by newcomer youth, including developmental needs, post-migration adjustments, family support effectiveness, and system navigation difficulties. You will explore unique stressors related to identity, learn about current programs, and acquire practical tools for leading activities and initiating conversations about cultural identity and anti-racism. Additionally, you will discover best practices for introducing new mental health resources to parents and youth, reducing stigma around help-seeking behaviors, and facilitating meaningful conversations through psychoeducation and emotional coaching. The session will also cover cognitive behavioral therapy, also known as CBT, and strategies for raising awareness and fostering dialogue about mental health within the newcomer youth community. So our two speakers today that we have for this is Tinman and Hannah. Tinman is, so just a little bit about themselves. Tinman gained her bachelor's degree in social work from Hong Kong Baptist University and her master's degrees of arts in social work, focusing in family-centered practice and family therapy from Hong Kong Polytech University. With concrete frontline social working experience in serving newcomer youth and families and populations with special educational needs, Tinman is currently providing supportive counseling for newcomers and delivering mental health-related workshops for newcomer children, youths, caregivers, and families. Themes encompass mental health education, stress management, self-caring skills, Nagomi arts pastel activity, peer support skill education, procrastination, and many other programming topics that she covers. Tinman is also proficient at case management, crisis intervention, and prevention, and received crisis intervention stress management, also known as CISM. Training, and is a pediatric autism communication therapy accredited practitioner. So that's Tinman. She's from CICS. And then second speaker is Hannah. Hannah Shu. I'm very bad at names. She is from the Hong Fook Mental Health Association. Is the lead of Youth and Family Services at Hong Fook Mental Health Association. She is a part of the Youth and Family Services team, and she coordinates programs for youth and their family members from ages 12 to 25 years old, and provides mental health workshops to increase mental health awareness and empower individuals to prioritize their mental health well-being to the East Asian community in the GTA. So with that being said, I'm gonna pass it over to them. Do you want the mic? Oh, you want it up here? You wanna hold it? Perfect. So I'm gonna pass it over to them. Let's give a quick round of applause for them.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to session 2, Mental Health Awareness and Support for Newcomer Youth. So my name is Tinman. Thank you, Kelvin, for introducing me in detail. And this is Hannah. Hi, everyone. So before we start, we want to talk about the limitations of this section. The contents that was based on the practice and services that we served. So therefore, it's not representing all newcomer youths with diversified backgrounds. So please be mindful of that. And we did our best to keep the information accurate at the time of presenting. And also, we adopted culturally safety methods to ensure that the content is applicable for most of the newcomers' youth. And please also feel free to enrich the content because we know it's not limited to the one that we're presenting now. So here, is the agenda for today. So first, we will talk about common mental health challenges faced by newcomer youth. Then we will share 2 main insights that are based on Hannah and I, the practice that we have. And then we'll share some best practices and tools for everyone. So there's a QR code that you can scan when we go to that page. It's a tools that we compile everything. There's a resource list. So hopefully it will be helpful for you. And there's Q&A by the end. So by the end of the session, we do hope that you guys have something to take away and incorporate them into your practices. Yeah. And this is Hannah and I. This is our contact. Feel free to contact us at our email and phone numbers. Okay, so Hannah.
All right. So before we share about all the challenges, all the insight, we just like to give you some background of our work. Because when we prepare our presentation today, we were like, we don't want to present something cliche that you can, Google it. So most of our sharing based on our work. So at Harmful, we actually have different approach for different youth, depends on if they have diagnosed or no diagnosed. So most of the content that I will share today will focus on prevention and promotion, which means that that applies for everyone. And then we will talk about like teaching life skills and then coping skills to deal with challenges. At the same time, we do offer some light treatment, which include counseling, peer support group for their recovery, and also connect them to psychiatrists.
Yeah. So I will talk a little bit about the Newcomer mental health services at CICS. So we are quite a new program. We have three main services. So first of all, we have a weekly wellness chat that our social workers, we are available on every Wednesday afternoon for anyone, regardless of their immigration statuses. They can give us a call and chat for 30 minutes for whatever they want to talk about. And then the second one is one-on-one supportive counseling. So our social workers, me and my coworker Ellen, we are available to talk and work on a wellness plan with our clients on one-on-one basis. Whatever the goals that they want to reach, we will kind of work on a plan to do that. And then the third one is group programs. So we have a few signature groups, which is our Youth Mental Health Ambassadors Certificate program that I'm going to talk about it in detail. And also we have an anchor Newcomer Job Seekers Support Group, and there's a group called Time for a Change to combat procrastination and any other workshops that is related to mental health. Yeah, so, okay, that's the old PowerPoint, sorry about that. But we will open the floor to kind of have some like feedback from you guys first. So what do you think common mental health challenges faced by newcomer youth? Like, just feel free to shout out your answer. Yeah, you can raise your hand. Yes, please. Yeah.
Also embarrassed. So something as simple as that, just not being familiar with the culture can be a challenge.
Yeah, yeah. They might have a constant feeling of feeling unfit in that environment. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing.
Sorry, my brother. Sorry. I would say personal hygiene with the boys and girls too. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell someone that they're not smelling fresh. So, so it's a common thing because, sometimes boys, it could be boys to be playing outside and they're coming in, hanging in a space and they don't smell fresh. So it's kind of a challenge.
Challenges and got some weird looks from others, but not knowing what's happening. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
We have one online, I think.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Pass the mic over there. Yeah, exercise it, guys.
Thank you. Someone said body image.
Body image. Yeah, I guess maybe physically, like visually minorities or that kind of, I guess. Yeah, thank you for the response as well. Yeah, there are a lot of mental health challenges faced by newcomer youth. And we want you that, like, this is the 4 perspectives that we are trying to propose to all of you based on Hannah and my practice. We do think that if we have more understanding about their situations from these 4 perspectives, we might have a better understanding of the maybe the challenges that they are facing. And sometimes mental health challenges, we think that this might be a symptoms that are kind of representing there are several things or barriers that has been undergoing in their lives. And these 4 perspectives help us to kind of look into that deeply. So they are, have their youth needs been met, and how is their adjustment in various systems, and then how effective is their family supporting them, and the last one is any difficulty in system navigation. Yeah. Okay. So by talking about the first one, have the youth needs been met? By talking about needs, there are a lot of needs. Like, we are proposing like a few, but of course there's not all of them. I believe there should be more. So it could be developmental needs, special educational needs, mental health needs, settlement needs, and etc. So Kelvin did a really good example in the first session, sharing a case study about the youth, where I want to give you another example to illustrate that better as well, like complementing that. So let's say an Edward is a newcomer youth coming to Canada. English is a second language, and he's a high school student. However, at school, like, the teachers are telling you that he just feels so unfit at the school environment. He doesn't have any friends, and he feels so bad about himself that just lose all his confidence. What happened? And he started to show signs of school refusal, avoid going to school. What happened to him? And then by looking into this kind of needs, actually, at first, developmental needs is kind of met because of language barrier. There's maybe not too many students who can speak that language at the school. He couldn't really make any friends. As a high school student, having friends and having the social needs, developing their own identity on that, it was kind of lost in this sense. And the second one is the settlement needs, is that, again, language barrier. We talk about it a lot of time. And thinking about at work, he couldn't really catch up with their school curriculum. He don't understand what the teacher is saying at school. It just really a hard difficulty for him to fit in that school environment. And let's say, for example, he used to be a top student when he learned in his own language. So as you can imagine, the big difference that he is experiencing now, how feeling himself as a failure. Yeah, because of language barrier. And mental health needs, as you can see, losing self-esteem, low self-esteem about himself, refusing to go to school, even maybe don't know why the parents bring him to here, just have no idea what's happening to him now, so lost. And also maybe having some special educational needs as well is worth exploring as well. So just want to kind of let you know that sometimes a youth are presenting some mental health needs, but actually there are something also behind them. And by kind of looking into these 4 perspectives and more, is also a crucial step to understand their situation better. And we start to help from that. Yeah, and the second one is adjustment in various systems. By system, we can understand that as places that are the youth that spend their time the most. For example, it could be families, it could be school, it could be on internet. Yeah, and so the question would be, have the youth, how is the adjustment in various systems in Canada in their new settlement journey? And has Edward connected to the maybe settlement workers at school, and any like culturally or linguistically specific community centers that Edward can go to kind of start making friends from there and build up a sense of belonging from there. Yeah, this is something that we can look into. And not only the youth is adjusting, but also their families. So therefore, it leads to the third perspective that Hannah is going to talk about. Yeah.
So when we saw about, okay, family support, there's always punchline I like to share with everyone. So evidence show that during the teenager year, as long as they have one trusted out, just one trusted out, they will have like a really good protect factor for their mental health. And usually that one trusted out is their parents. But for newcomer youth, things is a little bit different. Think about like the whole family moved to Canada. Their parents might be struggles. Oh, a whole new country. I need to adjust about myself. And some of the newcomers, they may facing financial stress. They need to I need to work for my family. I don't have time for my kids. That will decrease the effectiveness for family support. And another something that will also affect the effectiveness in family support is value. So sometimes I work with parents too. And then they were just always complaining about, okay, my teenager kids, they always shut down the door. That makes me angry. I feel like they're doing something, really bad in their room. That's why they want to hide from me. But when we talk to the kids, they were like, it's my privacy. It's my right. Like I learned it from school. So sometimes when the family value clash with the Canadian value, that's some conflicts happening too. And also at the same time, usually one of the biggest effect for kids is like academic stress, right? And then sometimes school settlement work, academic stress. And sometimes school will suggest that maybe do you want to transfer your kids to IEP? That's a special need. That's a good education plan. But if the family, they don't know about IEP, they will be worried about it. They will say, oh, I don't want to transfer my kids to worst class. Like my kids is totally normal. She just like doesn't know much English. So that's some conflicts that happens in the family will affect kids' mental health. And talking about IEP, now we're gonna talk about system. So we all know it's really hard to navigate in the mental health system here. You need to find a family doctor. If you don't have one, you need to go see a walk-in doctor, and sometimes they don't do transfer for you. And another thing I would like to point out that a lot of youth, especially when they come to us, they was like, oh, finally, I find someone who can actually help me. I went to the hospital, they kicked me out. I went to school, they don't speak Mandarin. They say, oh, you guys speak Mandarin, so I'm gonna go find you. I wanna share one thing that actually feel sad about it is a lot of newcomer youth, their first encounter for mental health services is ER. That's not the best first encounter. It's very cold. They're gonna lock in there for like 3 days, traumatize them. What's worse is they're too afraid to go for follow-up services. So that's why, that's a big factor. They don't know about the service here. They don't know there's available help. So they just cut completely, like, I'm not going to any mental health services because it traumatized me. So those 4 factors are something that we found is unique and then have big impact for newcomer youth mental health. And we're just gonna move on to the next part, which is some insight that we feel like it might be helpful for you. Yes. So first insight will be, we think those 2 things might be helpful for improving newcomer youth mental health. First is raise awareness of mental health. And the second one is empowerment on their identity. So even you don't have any therapist background, you can still incorporate this practice into your work. And again, we would like to hear from you. How are you doing that in your services? How do you talk about mental health in your services? It's a sensitive topic. Like, how would you start a conversation? We'd just like to hear some other practice. Anyone? If you talk about, yes.
Vivian from the Newcomer Center of Peel. Maybe not directly talking about mental health as like the title of the program, but we have a lot of conversation circles, which we call Speak Out. So these conversation circles can vary depending on the topic, but regardless, we are creating a safe space for them to share how they're feeling, what their needs are, and allowing them to have that safe space can open so many doors to them opening up about other things. Now, our youth workers are not qualified to give professional assistance. So if we notice that there is a youth who needs that professional help and guidance, we have settlement workers who are more specialized in that. However, in order to have that soft referral, we need to get to know the youth better, right? You can't just send them off to this random adult who they don't know. We just talked about how youth are struggling to trust adults. So having that trusted adult in that space first to get them familiarized to talking about their feelings is like the first step. And so that's what my department has been doing.
Amazing, amazing. We did the same thing for adults as well. They don't trust us. Do you know how I attract parents to my workshop? Instead of like, helping your kids to release academic stress, I reframe the title. How do you talk report card with your kids? Oh, they love it. Like, yeah. I need to know that. I need to know that. So that's very smart. Don't put mental health in the title. Nobody interested in that. Oh, I know. I'm not crazy. I don't want to attend that. And also warm transfer, safe space. I heard a lot of keyword. That's great. And a lot of practice that we're sharing after. We don't need you to have like a really solid background. We don't need you to be a psychiatrist. Anyone else would like to share some practice that you think, I think it's quite useful? Yes. Ah, that's nice. Anyone. Meditation is very good. I usually reframe it as like a brain gym. Like, you go to gym and you need to practice like gym. You go to like, if you're sick, you go to doctor. If you want to improve your health, you go to gym. Meditation is sort of like gym exercise. So you don't have to be, yes.
But it's simple. It's more or less getting you to put your left hand on top of your heart, right hand on your lower belly. You have an option of closing your eyes, because closing your eyes helps relax you, and just breathing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of reconnecting to your body by using your breath.
Yes, low cost. I work for a nonprofit organization. I know, like, don't do something too fancy. That's just breathe. Okay, I'm gonna pass to Ting Man to talk about more how we talk about mental health in our agencies.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I love the low cost suggestion. Yeah. So, oh, wow. I'm going to talk, the things that I'm going to talk about are low cost as well, free. Hope it's okay. Yeah. So, the reason that we would talk about mental health with youth is that statistics told us that it's quite high. Like 1 in 5 Canadian are at that point of their life experiencing mental illness, and by the time they reach 40 years of age, 1 in 2 have had a mental illness, so which is quite high. By the way, it's made by our youth. As you can see, how infographic can be presented nicely and informative. So how about youth? So statistics also show us that like 39% of the high school students in Ontario showed some kind of symptoms of anxiety and depression. So what did they tell us is that by talking about mental health, by knowing it together and spreading the words accurately, it's actually really helpful for the youth, because then they themselves or their peers surrounding them, they might be experiencing some kind of mental health challenges or symptoms that by talking about it, spreading the words, it's also beneficial to the newcomer youth community. So we start talking about it openly. So here are some concepts that I would include, Hannah and I also include in our workshops. So we talk about signs and factors. We talk about intersectionality, how to self-care, breathing, meditation, any other things that they can practice for themselves to feel relaxed, relief from stress. And we talk about anti-discrimination because discrimination is also a social determinants of health. It's really important for us to learn about it and how to support our peers and how to break the stigma from the society on mental health. It is really theoretical, and we're talking about how do we do it. So Hannah, you can go first.
Sure. So all those concepts, you're like, yeah, I know, but I really want to practice that in the program setting. How should I do? As Vivian mentioned, you can first start with like a peer support group. And here are something, if you haven't started something yet, I have my notes, why peer support is good. So first, improve overall well-being. And second, I like it the most. It actually approved that if you join peer support group, it will lead to a fewer hospital stays. That's something nice. And then it will build up a large network, and also it will help kids to have better self-esteem, better resilience. So at Hanfok, we do have parallel peer support group. Sometimes we think about peer support group, it's always like so isolated. Yeah, a woman one, yeah, a man one, kids one, parents one. They're usually like just like they're doing their own thing. But at Hanfok, we try something out. So we did like parent support group, and then we invite their kids to the youth support group. So they all talk about like, you know, internet, addiction, those popular topic, and it actually works. So if you like to start something with like lower cost and that's easier, you can try to start a peer support group that they can talk about the concept and also encourage them to seek for some professional help. And also Team N has another amazing group at their agencies.
For some reason, we start talking about low-cost methods to do that. It's okay. I'm going to talk about the Youth Mental Health Ambassador Certificate Program. So first of all, recruitment is not a problem, even though mental health is in the topic, because we've kind of presented to be a quite positive and a leadership training way that we just learn together. It doesn't mean that you, as a participant, have some mental health conditions that you have to treat. No. We're not saying about that. We just want to learn the concept together. So this is kind of like how we recruit. We have session we have a topic, specific mental health topic for every section. So we come, fun and learn, and we provide snacks and drinks because it happened to be our like after school hours, like teenagers are hungry. So we want them to be enjoyable. Then we provide volunteering hours because we do require their input and how they are making impact in the society. And we want to keep them excited. We have lucky draw. And then the last one, a certificate, just a win-win situation that maybe it looks good on your university application. Yeah. So here are some ways that I am introducing mental health concept openly with the youth. So it could be done by games. Like there are a lot of like resources online. Just type, and of course I include that in the resource list. Just type the theme. Like, for example, I want to talk about self-care. Oh, there's a self-care bingo. Perfect. So we just learn together as an icebreaker. Of course, it is not the only thing we did in the session, but a good icebreaker, we learn different kind of self-care practice together. And at the same time, you can get to know each other and learn from each other. Yeah. And the second one, this is my favorite part is to present some information that sounds hardcore as a term, as a form of polling. We can vote. And because it's so engaging, because they really want to see, are their guesses right or wrong? So the youth are really excited to join that. So let's say, as an example, in a study in 2021, saying that back in 2017, yeah, so a study estimated that over how many percentage of the world population that people live with a mental health disorder. What do you think? You can raise your hand. 3%, over 3% of population that are living with a mental health disorder? 3%? Nope. How about 5%? Over 5%? Still no, 7%? Okay, a few hands. Okay, 10%. Okay, more hands. Yeah, it's 10%. It's really high, meaning that 1 in 10 in the whole world. So by mental health disorder means that include depression, anxiety, eating disorders, schizophrenia, bipolar, etc. So by this kind of like games that youth can also learn like some kind of figures about mental health and also have an idea that, oh, wow, it's a really common topic, like not only in maybe Canada, but over the world. Yeah. And sometimes you would be so amazed by how the youth are knowledgeable. They would share with you, oh, I got that because I learned that from school. I said, wow, amazing. Can you tell me more? So just to invite them to share their knowledge more, like keep them engaged, and they would feel so proud of themselves as well. So this win-win. Why not? And the third way I would introduce this topic is through some videos. So videos is a really perfect kind of like a vehicle that illustrates some really abstract concept in a few minutes, and the youth just get it right away. So let's say in a session that in YMHA, we talk about the causes of a mental health condition. So there's a model talking about it. It's called biopsychosocial model. Obviously, like there are biological, psychological, and social causes for mental health condition. Sounds really abstract. What are they? Then I found a video like Kristen Bell, an actress from The Good Place, because I watch it, and she disclosed herself living with depression and anxiety. And in that video, she told us that, oh, when she was 18 years old, she was alone in New York City. And then she was away from her family because she was kind of studying musical in the city alone. Sounds really fun for a teen, but she didn't feel like that. She felt she couldn't feel the happiness in her life like she used to be. Then what Kristen's mother told her beforehand is that it happened to her mother and her grandmother before because they had some experience of depression and anxiety. So by looking in that video, we can immediately spot out, oh, what kind of causes that behind Kristen's depression and anxiety? It could be the family medical history, and it could be the social changes that a youth came to a new place alone, and the challenges and the loneliness. Yeah, so this kind of video quite surprised youth in a way that they thought they didn't know about the biological cause for mental health condition, and it kind of supplement their knowledge too. So it works. Yeah. And another one I would like to say is that sometimes playing a video online, of course, you may have to search a little bit, but it kind of opened up conversation on some controversial topics. For example, that's a session we are discuss of stigmatization on mental health, like the labels on mental health. I don't want to put anyone in the group on the spot. Then a video would be perfect to open up that conversation. So there's a video in Singapore that two moderators conducted an interviews with the public, asking them these 4 questions. It would be, you can ask yourself to kind of review yourself. Would you hire somebody with mental health condition? Would you date somebody who has a mental health condition? And how would you react to a friend or family members who is diagnosed with a mental illness? And what kind of question do you want to ask a person with a mental health condition? So these 4 questions that the interviewees respond to actually imply a lot of public stigma on mental health. They wouldn't hire someone, they wouldn't date someone, they don't know how to deal with, react to a friends or a family, etc. And what interestingly turned out that the moderators revealed themselves by the end of the video that they are the person with lived experience of depression. And it kind of a good video that the youth can also discuss, okay, what kind of stigma do you see in the videos? What kind of labels people are thinking about mental health? Do yourself have this kind of thoughts as well? It's okay, we just talk about it. Where do this thought come from? And are they accurate? And what kind of maybe disputes or new understanding you gain from our session after you know about mental health? So it's just like a personal reflection, and also we want to put it into action. So there are just an example that there are a lot of pamphlets online telling us how to be more respectful in terms of our use of language. Like we don't want to like stigmatizing a person. We can say a person living with a mental health problem or illness instead of saying that person is mentally ill or insane. This kind of use of languages that we can just start in our daily life. We don't have to be like talking about mental health to your peers out of nowhere, but we can just do a good example of ourselves, and the youth can do that, demonstrate, oh, these are the languages we should be aware of, like that. So just as a little conclusion, you can do it, introduce this concept as a game. You can do it through some polling. You can show some videos and initiate some discussion on this kind of like concept. And we just want to present like an atmosphere that we are just learning this together, and we can just spread the words among our social circles. Yeah, hopefully someone needed would be like feel supported. Yeah. So okay, and Helen is going to talk about empowerment on identity.
Okay. Before we talk about identity, I actually prepared like 5 answers like for this question. I just wondering why? Why do you think like we should talk about identity? As a settlement worker, shouldn't we just, talk more about Canadian culture, help them to adapt the new environment? I'm actually, not the same race as my clients. Should I talk about identity? That's hard. But why? Like, why do you think it's important? Yes.
Conflict newcomers can have when they arrive to a new country, struggling with their identities from home and the identities they need to maybe put on to fit in the society and so on.
Yeah, they feel really confused. Like, oh, should I be? Oh no, should I pack like lunch? Should I don't? Should I go to Walmart to pack those cheese cookies? Like and they don't like that. Anything else? You think? Oh, it is important to talk about. Yes. Sorry.
Hi.
Hi.
I think also it's really important to talk to newcomer youth about it, because since they are youth and they're still developing their own identities, coming to a new country can feel really daunting because you are already trying to come up, with who you are in your own country, and you move to a different one. So that concept can get a little warped during that transition, and it becomes even more challenging because now you have to adapt to a different culture. So I feel like, talking to them about identifying a sense of self for them could be really helpful in addressing mental health challenges, and give them a sense of security in terms of who they are becoming as they're growing up in a new environment.
Exactly. Especially when they're in like teenager years. That's the period they start to like, who I am, what do I like? Am I different from my parents? Now I have to deal with, am I different from the society? So that's pretty hard for them. Yes.
Hi, I think one other thing I want to add on to Doris's point is that having a positive identity can also lead to a positive self-esteem. So, which in a way, it will reduce the chance of actually having a mental issue and stuff like that.
Yes. Yes. Totally agree that. So anyone else? Yes. Yes. Oh, sorry. And maybe, yeah, and then, yes.
Like, not just them having that
question. It's just normal. It's just like part of like sex ed, right? Like when people talk about it, it's a normal topic for them to even explore it for themselves.
Yeah, normalize it. Same as we talk about mental health stigma. We open the conversation. And can I invite you?
Wonderful. At times, a lot of newcomer youth are coming with their families. So a great example you gave is boundaries, right? Oh, what do you mean? This is my right now. And the conflict that arises within the family can really make youth question their identity. Though there are also a lot of times where youth are coming by themselves. So that identity that they have connected with their families back home is now disconnected. Coming here, they're really confused about what that means by themselves. A third aspect here is, let's say they're really questioning their sexuality back home, and certain identities are not as easy to speak about or to really figure out and flesh out. So coming here, that could be another layer of a barrier that kind of prevents them from really thinking, okay, now what does it mean now that I'm here in Canada? Can I have these conversations? And where do I have these conversations? So there's a lot of reasons for why identity is important in bringing these conversations up.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing the intersectionality, not just ethnic identity, sexuality, different kind of identity. So when we talk about why it's so important, first, cultural preservation and integration. That's helping the youth to balance their cultural background, improve their self-esteem and confidence. Definitely for a newcomer, identity is a unique protective factor for their mental health, and then also build social connection. It's always nice to hang out with someone that you actually know, and then build on the resilience. And then here are some concepts if you really want to talk about identity for your clients. Of course, racism, we all know it's a kind of sensitive topic. You're not that sure, like, oh, how should I talk about it? So here are a few tips if you really want to talk about racism in your work practice. First, think like create a safe and open environment. And then use age-appropriate language. If you have younger kids, you might want to use some like, people are different. If you have older kids, they might have, like, you can show them news. Just be mindful about that. And also be informed and prepared. So if you're not that confident with that kind of topics, it's always nice to prepare article, a movie, or a video like Ting Man mentioned. You don't have to be an expert for yourself. It's always nice to discuss. And then encourage personal stories and experience. Personal stories are very powerful. So if you have youth, you want to engage youth, invite them to share. And then something I like about culture shock is, usually when we think about culture shock, it's always like, oh, so different. I wear jeans to ski, it's something different. But there's a honeymoon period. There's actually different period about culture shock. So honeymoon, frustration, adjustment, acceptance. So maybe you want to observe your clients, which stage are they? So you can talk about the things differently. And then, like you said, people might questioning about their identity. It might be like, oh, what's my sexual orientation? What do I like? What's my cultural background? So we have a few tools that can help you to deep down this concept. Please ignore the academic stress. We didn't send the updated slides. First one is modern minority. I think it's a cool concept. It's first originated from States because bunch of Asian, they always, when they go to school, when they go to work, people always think, you guys are hardworking, you guys are good at math, you guys don't have any financial stress, you're like, good, you're good immigrants. Oh, that's like, ooh. That's not okay. And then some kids, like, it might be a surprise. They're too afraid to search for help, especially educational help, because like people think, oh, you look like an Asian. You're supposed to be good at. You're supposed to be. What do you mean you're supposed to be? Another thing is microaggression that a lot of you might already know. So let's say example. So let's say a 15-year-old teenager, Ben, moving from Philippines. And then the first day he went to school, like he talked to his classmate, and his classmate said, "Oh, as a person from Philippines, you speak very good English." So, we do speak English, And then those tiny minor things that really stress them. And then sometimes they can be like, "Am I too sensitive? Is it me?" Or like they're just doing a lot of like stereotype on me. So talking about microaggression might be helpful for them to express their stress. Another thing is intersectionality. That just have another example. Fatima, 14 years old, Black, Muslim, a girl moving from Sudan to Canada, wearing a hijab. And then people were like, still saying a different kind of thing. And then she's facing different kind of challenges. For example, they might ask you, "Oh, did you live in the jungle? Were you in the war? Like, is your country still in the war?" Or like, "Oh, are you oppressed because you're wearing like a religious?" Or like, treat them differently. So in that case, it's not just newcomer. It's different kind of layers, different kind of challenges it's posing on her. So if you're interested in knowing more about this topic, me and myself are keep learning those topics. So I found some resources are actually helpful for me. So first is Chinese Canadian National Council Social Justice. I know it says Chinese, but I do like about them because they have a really good facilitator guide in their resource page that really teach you how to explain those hard question, hard issue to young people. So you don't scare them. You don't traumatize them. And another tool that I think is useful to explain intersectionality is called Power Flower, which I will leave Ting Men to talk a bit more about that. And I know, like sometimes you want to look for something more youthful. You want something more colorful that youth are willing to read instead of like a 15 minutes documentary. So you can also search for this. This is produced by us, a little bit of advertisement. So we invite some Asian youth to make a booklet and talk about Asian youth racism, mental health, and identity. So if you want to empower your youth, maybe that's another practice that you would like to do. So here are more practice sharing about how we talk about this empowerment, identity empowerment in a program setting. So we do have different kind of program. I will pass to Ting Men to talk about how she talk about intersectionality in her program.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Just a disclaimer that Hannah and I also learning because the more we know, the more we realize we don't know. So let's keep just a practice sharing. So we do have a few sessions talking about intersectionality, anti-racism in YMHA. So again, like Ulrich, there's a video that is really kind of thought-provoking. It's called Our Hidden Biases. You can just find it on YouTube. And in that video, you would see a little young boy with Black ethnicity that growing up in, I don't know what country, maybe the US. And then it kind of like recorded a lot of scenarios that in his life, he witnessed that his family, his parents, and himself is being treated with biases. So what the person who presenting this kind of biases to him could be a social worker, could be a teacher, could be a doctor at a hospital, or even neighbors in the neighborhood. So this is like quite thought-provoking, is that sometimes people don't realize that they have these biases, and there's a name for that, implicit biases. And then it's just open up the conversation to learn about these concepts. And then about intersectionality, just like what Hannah mentioned, there's an activity called Power Flower. it's not created by me. I think it's kind of like a professor in U of T that talks about intersectionality. So we have a lot of social identities as a person. It could be our age, our race, the language that we speak, or even immigration status, education level, etc. So this kind of social identities create who we are, but at the same time, there are also dominant and non-dominant one in the society. And by having a Power Flower is a activities you can, again, is in the resource list. So instruction are there, and you can, as youth and us, we can do together. What are our social identities first? Then we will look into what are the dominant and non-dominant one, and what kind of oppression, privileges that we are experiencing because of this different kind of social identities. We want to kind of have an idea that everyone is kind of different. The challenges that they're facing is different because of these reasons. Then that to kind of start a conversation about that. And also the last part is kind of like a kind of screen capture from the Chinese CCNCSJ, like the resources we talked about in the last slide, that, if we encounter racists and we're being racist, like people saying racist thing to us, what can we do? Yeah, it's hard to say what can we do. But they do kind of give us a few options that we can try to do. And by also learning about this concept among newcomer youth, that for some reason, maybe they would experience that in the future, but they know what's happening. They know what their reactions can be, and they know how to handle it. Yeah, so it's not their fault. Yeah, but okay, so here's Hannah.
So I know we talk a lot about like empowerment, identity. We talk about increased awareness. Just in case someone really interesting in like a hardcore psychoeducation piece. So we would like to suggest 2 therapy methods that we found is easier to accept and learn by youth. First is compassionate focused therapy, so which is more focused on emotional regulation, give more compassion about themselves. So when they have challenges, they can like, being there with themselves. And another therapy approach that we found is easier to adopt that by youth is called acceptance and commitment therapy, which talk a bit more about accept their current situation, find their value, and find their strength. So even when they have challenges, once they know what I really want, they can still overcome that challenges and continue their life journey. So we do prepare some practice tools for you, and then it's not in the slides, but that's okay. So we would like to talk about the
Yeah, just some key takeaways. So the slogan is engage on the first step and connect on the next. So Hannah and I receive a lot of inquiries, both from parents and youth, and we just want to present that, and you guys as a like frontline workers, or maybe you can share with your coworkers too. If someone kind of showing some signs of mental health, and you can kind of destigmatize mental health services, like present it as a way that, there are services out there in the community. It's okay to try. Like just try, give it a try. Maybe it's helpful. Maybe it's not, it's fine. There's a lot of like social workers, settlement workers, any other people that out there that would be really helpful to you. And just encouraging and like what the gentleman said, validate their health-seeking behaviors, that encourage and validate their willingness to take one step further and to connect to the help. And so therefore, I remember in the first session that it takes time to take referrals. Yes, it's true. But at the same time, there are some drop-in counseling services in the community, like the WhatsApp walk-in clinics, a lot of clinics there. And there is kids' cell phone, 24 hours, a lot of languages available. And also, not to mention the school system and community resources. There's a lot. So just present it as a way to encourage them, go and try. it's going to be helpful. Yeah.
And then one last thing I would like to share with everyone, because I found it's useful for my work, because I work for a mental health association. I have a lot of clients. When they reach to me, they're at the age. They're crying, they're angry, they don't want to listen to me. They're looking for help. So if you're trying to help a client who are being through an emotional tornado, I like to use this skill called emotional coaching. So just imagine if you are angry and then you're complaining to your friends. So like, oh, I can't believe my colleague just says something like this. And then just imagine your friend started giving you suggestion. Oh, have you ever tried this? Maybe you shouldn't be that. Or that's not a big deal. Why are you so angry? Do you still want to complain to this friend next time? Maybe not. Sometimes you want to complain just because you want to vent. You don't need their suggestion. So that happens to my work. When I trying to give suggestion, the kids just like, again, like, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I want to find someone else. So if you want to really help your clients, calm them down first. So first, I always like to validate their emotion, but only the emotion, not the behavior. So you can say, I understand why you're so angry, followed by 3 reasons. The reason that we said 3 reasons, because you're trying to guess. Maybe you guess wrong, maybe you guess right. If you get lucky, you guess right. And then second, meet their practical needs. If you take them to the doctor, yeah, I know a doctor, I will take you there. So, oh, I don't want to go. But like a warm hug, some like cold drink or hot chocolate, that will help them. Some practical needs if they might need like you to drive them somewhere. That's it. And the third step will be, do you actually want to talk? Now you feel better. Do you want to look for some mental health services? So that's the 3 steps. We try to regulate our client's emotion, and I hope it's been helpful for you. And we do have other resources in our list, and maybe we will find a way to send that list to you. So we prepare a list of psychoeducation that you can use. We also attach the emotional coaching skills there. You can just use as a template, and other community resources that might be helpful for your clients. So yes, if you have any question, of course, you can send us an email or text us. But here now is, if you have any question right now at the point, you're welcome to. Yes, Vivian.
Yeah, hi. My question is towards the 2021 study that was about 2017.
Yeah.
So the number was 10%. Just to confirm, that is only for diagnosed mental illnesses? Okay, because as
Yeah.
we know that, a lot
yeah.
of mental illnesses can go
Are
undiagnosed, so that is not
untreated.
an
Yeah.
accurate representation.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, just confirming. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Any question for us? Yeah.
What's your take on philosophy as a tool to navigate mental health? Just anything about mental health and guidance.
Like what kind of theory?
For example, let's talk about like challenges, right? Like when we overwhelmed with challenges, we might feel anxious, or we might like dwell in our past, so we might feel depressed. So maybe just showing why challenges could be a good thing in life may help them to navigate their, anxiety a little bit. I don't know, just for the panel or like Anyone in the room?
Guess I can add to that. So he's like, we're kind of just wondering if like reading like a book that talks about positivity and another way to think about how they should go through. Is that like a way you guys would suggest as like a positive thing to kind of enforce?
The first thing come to my mind is that like when I learn counseling, there's a really, really basic and humanistic way to do that. It's called Rogerian, like that school. So what that person said is that counseling shouldn't be any like leading, that kind of direction. It could be you have to put the person in the center. What you have to do is to reflect their feelings and content that's shared to you. So I really believe like that. And if someone come to us sharing their like strugglings, how they are feeling reasons, there must be good reasons for that. What they are doing now, experiencing now, is not problematic because it's all reasonable. Just listen to them. What happened? Why do you feel like that? Oh, you feel sad. Oh, I feel sad for you too. Like, can you tell me more? Like that. Just to start the conversation. It's kind of like echoes with the engage first and the support later kind of like slogan we try to talk about today. And I also feel like emotional coaching is also a good way to like to say
Because I have a public health background, I'm really obsessed with prevention and promotion. I don't, because I think, treatment, you all know about me. I'm really obsessed with low cost. I'm really frugal. So if you can prevent question or issue from happening, that's nice. So when I talk about stress, and then I will always refer this mental health definition by Public Health Agency of Canada. It's talking about, first, if you are like a mental healthy person, you enjoy your life. Nice, right? You're happy, you're relaxed. Second, you can also deal with your challenges. So you can't avoid the challenges in your life, and then you have to deal with it. And then it will lead to another concept I usually like to explain to my clients, youth clients. Like stress, it's like stress level, right? It will increase, it will be like really high, it will be really low. So a certain amount of stress, that's good. That's actually called motivation, when you're trying to run, when you're trying to do some exercise, you have like butterfly and you're like, that makes you run faster. But there's a sweet point. After that, you will feel tired, you will feel burned out eventually. So I think the secret of managing the stress is dealing with your stress level. And once you have like a healthy coping strategy, and once you know when to go, when to stop, then can help you to like manage the challenges. So if next time there's a kid's complaining to you like, I don't know, I have too many challenges, I don't want to deal with the challenges, maybe help them to find some healthy coping strategy first. If not, counseling. But counseling is not doctor. It's more like a gym coach. You don't know how to use gym. You don't know how to use your brain. So you need a coach to coach you. And once you learn those skills, you will be able to use your brain. You'll be able to use those gym equipment. So you will be able to handle everything for yourself in the later life. So it's about giving the youth autonomy to handle their mental health. We're not reframe mental health like, oh, you have a diagnosis, you're gonna stick with therapy for your life. No, we don't want that. We want them to handle the situation, learn new skills, leave our agency, live their own life. So that's something that I always want to share with my youth clients, and I hope it be helpful for you when you explain mental health concept to your clients. Thank you. Was that helpful? Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
So my question is more in terms of the service provider.
Mm-hmm.
And to give context to the question at FCJ, most at US
youth ourselves, and we work with youth as well. So what would you suggest in terms of best practices for vicarious trauma when the agency might or might not have a best practice of dealing with it at the agency? And adding on little more context, most of us are also newcomer youth ourselves, and we go back home to just ourselves, to an empty house. So taking that, dealing with our own journeys and the journeys of the youth we're working with, what would be some suggestions for best practices?
Yeah, because sometimes we serve youth and they would tell us something that is out of our expectation, and the story would be traumatizing. Therefore, would be as a listener would be like vicarious trauma that you would experience, and I think honestly, it kind of depends on the agency capacity. But I honestly feel like that if you feel like it is as a first line, first frontline worker that is already out of your capacity, you feel like you are not tolerating it anymore, just reach out to your supervisor, like report that. Honestly, even for me, sometimes it's, if the case nature is too much that we couldn't really handle that, report to your supervisor and to see is there any agency that is in a better capacity to support that youth. And of course, if you realize that you are still like having some emotions, like your functioning started to be impacted by that. It kind of depends on the agency's like capacity, but I know there's some employee assistance program that you can also look into and talk to your supervisor. That maybe you do need some advice on how handling that because it start impacting you. Yeah, yeah. But thank you for bringing this up because sometimes the stories, the experience that the youth experienced before, sometimes it would be out of the capacity of what we can really do. But I can see that you're trying your best to support yourself and the youth that you serve. So thank you so much.
Or is it lunchtime? Thank you. I can make a comment for that. So not all organizations will have programs in place to support the staff. So I think that you may have to get together with your team and create something, bring it back to your leaders. That should be something in place to support you. However, maybe you can schedule things differently during the day and a little bit earlier so you can connect with your team and sort of debrief. Involve your manager so they can also bring this back to the leadership and see that this is needed, it's happening, they're taking advantage of the space, and taking advantage of the time. So something needs to be done in place as a policy in general.
Oh, sorry. I think we have one more question.
The gentleman.
Yes.
In the first.
It's also a comment on that question is that one of the strategies that organization can take, and that's maybe an organizational level conversation, is mental health days or mental health leave that they provide to their employees. In my time at the Canadian Mental Health Association, I would say mental health days for especially people who work with the youth newcomers, almost unlimited. Like you will never be able to use all of them. And that's because they recognize the heavy load these youth workers can face. And the other thing is a previous point I mentioned is these trainings that anyone interact with newcomer youth must have, and these own, self-care, trauma-informed approaches and trauma-informed skills so they can like interact with the youth in a better way and also receive these stories in a less risky way on them and won't leave the same toll they would have if they don't have these skills and trainings.
Thank you for sharing. How about to wrap this up, let's practice the self-care tips together. It's really quick. I like it because when I feel stressed out, sometimes I feel like I don't have enough oxygen in my brain. So that's what I do. I do a psychological sign. So next time if you feel like, oh, too much work, too much stress, or like my kids, like the youth clients is too much stress, maybe we can do this together. So this psychological sign is called 2 inhale, 1 exhale. So 2 inhale will through your nose. So the first inhale will be really long. Try to suck all the oxygen around you and follow up with the second short inhale, just trying to suck any leftover. And then exhale through your mouth. So I will demonstrate first. Maybe we can do it again. So you do like, okay, how about let's do it together? Okay, inhale, second inhale. Okay, thank you very much.